Aliens. You know them, you love them, we made movies about them. Back in 2023 of January, I made my first alien species, and I'm here to show you the first design, if you will. Before I show you their new designs, I should probably introduce myself. Hello, welcome to or back to my channel. I'm Lucas, my pronouns are he, they. Let's talk about these 4 alien species. One major thing I was inspired by was Avatar: The Way of Water when I heard it came out. I always loved the designs of the Na'vi, and this movie was my first step into making these guys. And, like I said earlier, I made 4 of them. Alright, enough of the rambling, let me introduce you to the 4 species. Meet the Luano, Sindri, Soshni, and Urax. I'm still working on the pronunciation of them. First up is the Luano. They are a greenish-blue alien with blue and black accents. They have 4 arms, 2 legs, and I took an amphibian-like design with them. I had the idea that they would live in this wetlands-like environment with these trees that are tangled together like a nest. This is where a lot of the animals and other plants would live alongside these trees, and they would probably have a close-knit family type. Now let's have a quick talk about their design. For the design of the dark markings, I took inspiration from poisonous frogs. A lot of poisonous frogs have crazy coloring, and I was like, that's awesome, it's going in. I also took bioluminescence in animals into the design of these guys. I think most of them have bioluminescence. They have this light green bioluminescence that you'll see later on once I start the coloring. Now, the clothing is very simple. A long, light green shirt with a cardigan on top and puffy pants. I forgot what the pants were called. The lower parts of the legs are exposed for tree climbing and wading through the waterish wetlands. I honestly think for the next redesign I should probably focus more on the clothes. I think I got most of the body proportions right. There's just a few tweaks I need to make, but I think mainly it's the clothes and the design and the colors and the shapes of the clothes that I need to work on the most. Now for the next one are the Sindri or something. I still don't know the pronunciation on that one. They are a dark blue alien with light blue bioluminescence on their horns. Their first design took inspiration from the Norse and Vikings, which I wish I kept in this one. And of course these guys live in a cold, harsh mountain environment. For what I wish I kept with their design was, first, obviously, the original inspiration, maybe more of the body shape as well as some of the face coloring and the small tusks on their face in the first art piece. To be honest, I'll be adding a lot more of their old inspiration from the old design in the next redesign. Those things is what I want. What makes me happy with the design still is the eye color. I love the way they pop against all the rest of the colors. I feel like in the night they would mostly blend in with the night sky, but the only thing you can see are like the horns and their eyes, enough to scare anything away. Up next is our other tree-dwelling species, the Sosni. They are a dark green and black with green bioluminescence. They have 2 horns that are protruding, and the other ones are kind of like crown-shaped, I think is the way to describe it, for their hair-like appendages. They have long arms to help them swing from tree to tree, and these guys are like super small compared to the others. And they're the only ones with 4 eyes. For their clothes, I went off mainly vibes. A lot of greens and of natural colors, and archer vibes is what I describe it as. I would like to say there's a bunch of groups for all of these guys, and not all of them are going to have the same clothing type and everything, but this is what one of them looked like. So, we're on the final stretch of describing and talking about these aliens. The next one is the Urax. They were inspired by goats, if you couldn't tell, and they are mainly a mountaineering group. They hike and explore all the time, and they also carve their horns and paint it, usually their eye color, with different designs for each group. For their outfit, there's a good chance I will change them and the design pattern. I want to take more inspiration from traditional outfits from people who lived in mountains, for the majority. What I want to do after I finally finalize their design, I want to draw different groups within these 4 species. But for now, it's on the back burner. And then, after showing you all these designs, I'm going to show you the OCs with them. So I hope you like the OCs that I'm going to talk about next. A curious and friendly Luano. Meet Lucy. She's a part of the Luano species, and she's always making friends from the other tribes in the wetlands. The tribes of the Luano are a homogeneous group. They have similar traditions, clothing, worship, etc., but they do have differences among each other. I don't have a full idea of the tribes and the tribe Lucy lives in, but Lucy is very curious about learning about the other groups in her world. They don't really see them often as they're very closed off, but she wants to make friends with them and learn about them. Lucy is the youngest of her siblings. She isn't that close to them, as they're already adults, and her parents are busy talking to the other tribes in the area, committing peace treaties and everything. So she's been hanging out with her friends, but she's bored. For her design, I got rid of the brown colored pants. They have been driving me crazy. I could not find a good brown color with this color palette, so no more, it is gone. I did still keep the simple clothing. I kept the shirt, but I changed into a turtleneck, and I did keep the simple cardigan. I wanted her to have open pose with her hand and with her waving her hand, but her horns blocked her mouth, so it looks like she's staring blankly. I play oopsie daisies, I am sorry. But if there were any changes I would make for this design, I'd be adding more details with the cardigan. The reason why I added those little yellow bits in her cardigan, though, was just to make it pop, as it kind of looked plain with just the shapes, the wavy cloud mist shapes. A strong and serious lady, meet Runa. She is a part of the Singrid species, and the oldest of her family. She has been training to take over as leader of her people, which has put on some stress onto her, and her schedule is cramped. She has to meet with other clan leaders around her. After that, she has to meet with other species and their leaders as well, and learning the politics within each group. Sharing and helping has always been an important part within her group and helping others. And she'll have to carry that on and knowing when to stop and who to side with in the conflicts, and much, much more. Her parents have been helping her, but their workflow has been flooded with marriages. In her culture and the other clans, arranged marriages is normal, and these are for political necessities. So having what we consider a mistress, also the male version of a mistress called a paramour, but for Runa, she won't be needing a paramour. She and her parents are already looking into those arranged marriages, and who to definitely avoid, and the possible candidates as well. Now, after all of that, let's talk about her design. I wanted to change her clothes, and I wanted to add more star and moon motifs, as it's super important in their culture. You might notice that they have some aqua-colored paint on their face. Here's their importance. First is the star on their nose, and it's on their nose as it's the center of their face. She also has a star-shaped jewel right below her hair, and that is for her status. Next is the painted shapes above her protruding tusks and her mouth. They're there to emphasize them as a show of display of their strength, etc., if that makes sense. They don't really have any shoes. They have, you might see this little brown wrap around their lower parts of their leg. That was originally done as an artistic choice, but I guess it's more like leg warmers, and they don't really need shoes, if that makes sense as well. Also, since the moon and stars are really important in their culture, I did a lot of these star shapes in their skirts, and I don't know what they're called. You'll see it on the top. It's kind of like a scarf kind of thing. They also have this little belt that shows the moon cycles as well. Obviously, it was an artistic choice, but I think it was a great one. Up next is our bouncy guy, Kofi. He is the 7th sibling of the 10, and yep, he has a very huge family. Though they live in trees, the Sosni have an average 6 kids, and are the smallest out of the alien groups. Similar to the Luana, they make their homes in the trees, but theirs is very different. I'm not sure how to explain it. They do share some similarities with the Luana because they have similar living styles, but other than that, they do have their differences. I just haven't gone into the specifics of it yet in writing. Kofi has been responsible for preparing food to cook, as Runa and her clan council are coming to visit, so him and his siblings have been slammed with preparing along with everyone else. They have to make sure that the food they choose are safe to eat and or digest. Kofi is kind of curious about them. They made some friends with some of the Luano tribes and the Yuraks, but he hasn't really met Runa species, as they are on the opposite side of the world, and a little bit of him hopes to make friends with them. For his design, I kept the clothing similar. The outfit for the Sasni are mainly green like them. They give me archer vibes, to be honest. Also, you can see the bioluminescence on his horns. This character here is analytical and decisive. This is Jahan. They are the oldest of their two half-siblings. The Yuraks are a heterogeneous group. They are so widely different that not only does this cause conflicts with each other, it causes conflicts with the other species. It's a very huge offense to confuse the groups with one another. Jahan's family are the leaders of their group and are expected to meet the other groups and the other species, even though Jahan is introverted and kind of hates people. Jahan and the people live near the tops of the mountains and often wander around. The scenery never gets old for them, and they'll often wander the mountainsides as the sun rises. Sometimes they'll have their siblings come with them just to talk or to talk about the world's politics. Conflicts is the last thing they want, and it is tiring and very annoying. For their design, I gave them a closed-off pose, arms crossed and looking away. You might also know that they have markings on their horns. Their people chisel and paint their horns. The paint is similar to the color of their eyes. They have a lot of mountain motifs all over their clothes. Mountains give them everything, even if it's sparse during some times in the seasons. The people are still grateful. I still don't fully understand the shape of the clip. Here, you can see, I think that's the only thing I would change. I'm pretty happy with everything else, maybe smaller changes here and there. I think it's pretty obvious why they don't need shoes. They have hooves, basically, but they do have leggings. But that's it. Now let's talk about the secret fifth option. Now, as you can see, we have another species, specifically a subspecies of the Luano. This subspecies lives in the desert, and let me introduce you to Nalia. She's a quiet and closed-off person that is curious of the world around her. Her people aren't treated well by the Luano. No matter how hard they try to make peace, they still see them as savages, thieves, and very lustful beings, and others. This is because monogamy isn't a very common thing here with them. Lots of the people have multiple partners here for many reasons: love, politics, etc. Nalia doesn't have any partners at the moment as they're still pretty young. Most people don't look for partners until they're adults. There's only a few nations in the desert. Each of the nations' culture and traditions can be very similar and very widely different. Nalia has multiple parents, but her bio mother is the one that runs her nation. And although Nalia isn't interested in the throne, she has to constantly remind her siblings and her half-siblings that she is not interested in it. She knows that only 2 of her half-siblings would be the best to lead their nation, and it's just hard to gain their trust. I struggled a lot with Nalia's design. The only thing I don't like is the shape of the feet, and the fact that she looks so much like Ahsoka, which is what I would change. Other than that, I love the patterning on everything. I just love it. It was so fun to draw. I did struggle a bit, but I'm so happy. So happy. I love all the patterning that I chose for her clothes. My favorite part was the sun and moon motif on her scarf. Also, a little design note is that the light orange and white patterning on her face is a part of her face, is a part of her skin. The red markings are paint, like makeup. But that's it for these guys. Here's a map of where they live. Drawing these guys really inspired me to draw more alien species, so hopefully you'll see more of that in the future. I do hope you like the aliens designs, and I can't wait to show you more in the future. Have a wonderful day, and please like and subscribe.